Hello ladies and gentlemen and otherwise, what's up? My name is Devious and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be taking you through 5 very basic tips for new sprouts or just new tanks who are starting their Final Fantasy XIV journey. This is aimed at people who have either never tanked before, have no idea what they're doing, or are just very new to the game. So, if you are an experienced veteran, I doubt you're going to find anything too terribly new here unless you just have not put on the blue before. All that being said, I'm not talking about Blue Mage, by the way. Don't at me, bro. That being said, tuck in, grab yourself a drink, or maybe not. This is going to be a short video. But yeah, if you enjoy what's about to happen, drop me a like and a comment down below, sub, etc. There's also a Discord link down below if you have personal questions or you would just like people to experiment with. Let's boogie. First tip of the day is the same one that you're going to hear in most tanking videos, and that is please be aware of your tank stance. For the Paladin, this is Iron Will. For the Warrior, it's going to be Defiance. For your Dark Knight edgy boys, you're going to have Grit. And your ever-fashionable, lovely Gunbreaker mains, we will have Royal Guard. Essentially, what this is going to be is it multiplies the amount of attention the enemy is going to pay you when you do damage. So you want this always on if you're the main tank or the only tank in a party, so you can always have the enemies paying attention to you. You have the highest defense, you're the one who has the best survivability options, and the healer is going to be paying more attention to you than anyone else because of this. This is good. This keeps the flow of battle going, and just it generally makes for a more controlled experience, which is what most people are looking for. It also is your job to be the enemy punching bag so your DPSs know where to go to drop their big psychotic damage nukes. Tip number 2. This one's a little bit more on the complex side, but the complexity comes at later levels, and by then you'll have enough experience to kind of work your way around things. Tip number 2 is mitigation. Every tank has a number of mitigation skills that all do fairly similar things. Now, what you're looking for here is stuff like Rampart, Arm's Length, and by the way, Arm's Length is not just knockback prevention, it is also an enemy slow. When things hit you, they slow their attack speed by 20%. It's wonderful for crowds. There's also tank-specific abilities that are particular to each individual job, such as Nebula for the Gunbreaker, or Sentinel for the Paladin. Each class has their own set of mitigation skills that do more or less the same thing with a few little flavor spicy bits. The reason you have so many of these is not to pop them all and become immortal for a few seconds. It's to string them out over a longer period of time so your healer can not, dump their entire mana bar trying to keep you alive. And I hear you say, but Devious, the healer's job is to heal. They should be paying only attention to me and not doing damage to the enemy because that's a waste of time. Wrong! Everyone is a DPS in this game, as Jocat is so very fond of telling all of us. Thank you for that, by the way. But healers are not just there to heal. Healers have a crap load of damage they can output, and if you are preventing them from doing that because you have a boo-boo and want a band-aid, then you're making the engagement take longer than it should, so use your mitigations and string them out over at least a few seconds. Probably more than that. The best idea that I can tell you is to use one, let it run out, wait a few seconds. If you're taking a decent amount of damage, use another one. If you get to half health and your healer is struggling, you should have already popped one. Tip number 3, and this one is going to be a bit on the spicy side. I do apologize in advance if you guys don't like math. Use your AoE combo at all times. And I'm saying this as a general rule to people who have no idea what they're doing, because the worst thing you could do as a tank is draw aggro and then only focus on your 1-2-3 combo that's single target and let things de-aggro from you and go chasing off after the DPS. That's not fun. So always be using your AoE combo or your AoE button in general if you're at lower levels. Is it boring? Usually, but more often than not, this is the most efficient way to go about things. But Devious, I hear you say, my 1-2-3 single target combo does so much more damage. No, it doesn't, and I can prove it mathematically. Welcome to MS Paint, where we will be continuing this conversation just for ease of being able to type things out. So, let's say, hypothetical scenario. You have 3 targets. And you want to do as much damage as possible while your team is just wailing on them, trying to kill them off so you can move on with the dungeon. Your 1-2-3 combo deals 15, 23, and 39 damage with each individual piece of the combo. That's 77 total. That's pretty good. Your AoE combo only does 10 and 17? Well, isn't that just heresy? It's so much lower. Devious, what are you trying to prove here? Your numbers are just, they're not paying attention to the facts and the stuff, and that made absolutely no sense whatsoever. However, I can prove that AoE combo does more damage because A, that's only 2 button presses as opposed to 3, and B, that 27 you gotta multiply by 3. So with 3 enemies, you get a total that is closer to 81. And the funny part is, you do that only by 2 with 2 enemies. It's still 54. And it's still 2 button presses. Now, you add another 30 on top of that, and you're up to 84, which is still higher than your 77 total with a 1-2-3 combo. Now, where do these numbers come from, Devious? This makes absolutely no sense. You're just backing yourself up with BS bullshit, and you're trying to change our minds for no discernible reason. That is wholly incorrect, and I can prove it. Fast Blade, 150 potency. Riot Blade, 230 potency. Roll Authority, 390 potency. I just took the zeros out. And for your AoEs, you have Total Eclipse, deals 100 potency, and Prominence, which, with the combo, deals 17 potency. Also, completely just took the zeros away. So these are more or less very, very light with no other considerations involved. These are numbers directly represented by the game itself. Use your AoE combo. It does more damage to targets if you have more than one, and it helps you maintain aggro. It's just better. Tip number 4, and one of my personal favorites that I really wish everyone would know, is grouping and aiming AoEs away from your party. Now, grouping is essentially getting all of your enemies in one tightly packed little area so that wonderful AoE damage that we just discussed can hit all of them more efficiently. Now, this does 2 things. First of all, it allows you to control the aggro a lot easier because you don't have to run around to a whole bunch of different enemy packs in order to do damage to them. They're all packed together in one area. And also, your DPS don't have to run around to a bunch of different areas and worry about you maintaining aggro on all of those things that you actually haven't hit in a while, and it's kind of concerning, and that archer is really looking at me, guys. It also keeps your healer a lot more safe, and that's just the grouping aspect. The pointing AoEs away from your party part, this takes a little bit more game knowledge to figure out which enemies do what kinds of AoEs, but generally, try and keep it to where, at a minimum, you're pointing the enemy away from your healer. Now, if the healer runs up next to you and wants to stand right in front of you inside of the enemy body, then, I mean, that's up to them. It's probably a white mage and they're probably just spamming holy, which is totally okay. The point being, wherever your healer goes to first, unless they are deliberately following right on your butt, try and point the enemy away from the healer and preferably the rest of the party. Now, obviously, if the healer and the black mage are standing at 2 opposite ends of the arena, don't go out of your way to point the enemies at the black mage. Just, use your head. Try not to flag your enemies, if that makes any kind of sense. Try not to flag your friends, if that makes any kind of sense. Damn it! Last tip on the list, tip number 5, is please keep an eye on your healer's mana bar, at least on occasion or between engagements. If you come out of a big pull and your healer is just, is dying, struggling to breathe, man, please slow down, I can't keep this up. If their mana bar is down to almost nothing and you pull a big mob pack, you're going to die, and it's going to be your fault. And the healer is probably still going to try because that's their job, but you are the problem here. So, don't run your healer into the ground. If your healer is low on mana constantly, slow down a little bit, give them a chance to reset a little, give their lucid dreaming a chance to come off cooldown so they can regen that mana. go a little bit easier on them if their mana is low. That being said, a bit of a caveat. If you get a healer that is really good at balancing all of their stuff and they just want to get as much damage out as possible, but they're also keeping you healed, if you don't die in that situation, the healer is doing their job perfectly. General example, if you get to the end of a dungeon, you are on like 5 HP and you've been so close to death the entire time and the healer's been almost out of mana the entire time, but no one dies? The healer did their job. They're still doing their job, and they're doing a perfect job of it because they kept you alive, and that is indeed their job. The healer is also a DPS. Sometimes they lean a little bit more into the dangerous side. If you die, definitely slow down a bit. Maybe they're getting a little bit overzealous, and also if you slow down and the healer says, "Nah, go ahead fam, we're good," trust the healer. More often than not, they know what they're talking about. Alright, that is going to be pretty much it, except for one little bonus tip that I felt I should include here. And this one's very simple. If you are new to a dungeon, you have no idea how it works, and you are almost certain that you're going to get lost, first of all, don't be afraid to tell your party. Second of all, just pop your map open. Have it open at like the bottom left or the bottom right, wherever you're not going to be too terribly bothered by it, and just have it open and ready there in case you need a little bit of navigational assistance. It does help a lot, and myself as a tank main, I still find myself doing this pretty constantly just to make sure I don't get lost in the dungeons that have a few branching paths. There aren't too many of them, but it's enough to notice. And with that, we have reached the end of this video. I hope you guys learned something. I hope it wasn't too, forceful. And, yeah, I'm trying to balance comedy and information and keep it in a still, more or less compacted format. I hope you guys did learn something. If you did, or if you just enjoyed the video, or maybe you just had a little giggle, drop me a like and a comment down below. I do love seeing them, and I try to respond to all. If you would like to join us, there's a Discord link down below. Hop in, ask for the Chaos Crew tag. You will be pinged when I'm up to shenanigans, or just hop in and say, hey, I want to try tanking, and I want to do it with people over Discord, and there will be plenty that volunteer to jump in, I promise. If not myself. I will probably be bored at some point and jump in because reasons. And that will be about it. Sub, bell icon, etc., etc. Y'all have a wonderful day. And I will see y'all next round.